So let's talk about conflict between children. And how do you resolve that, or do you resolve it? Do you let it resolve itself?
You know, I have an only child, so it's hard for me because there's not a ton of conflict in our house on a daily basis. It's usually between me and Thomas, and it's resolved by me saying I'm right and you're wrong. So when he has a play date,
Advanced conflict resolution techniques right there.
I flounder a bit. Like when his friends come over, a lot of times the kids, they like to wrestle. They're very physical, the boys, so if one gets hurt, then it's a, you did that on purpose, and then I will sort of step in and say, you both decided to wrestle.
Right.
You made a decision and somebody got hurt. Not a huge surprise. One time I just said, look, is this enough for the two of you never to speak again? And they were both like, well, no. And I said, well, good, let's move on.
Figure it out.
It's a little different with girls, though, isn't it?
At school,
Sometimes,
or get
yes.
that kind of cattiness.
We've talked about it before, and she's really good at saying, you know, I don't like it when you do that.
Good.
And just standing up for herself that way. And I think just sort of owning that feeling and expressing it is a pretty constructive way to do it. And, you know, if someone's teasing you and you say that, that doesn't really go anywhere. There's not much they can do with that, right?
The bullying thing's a big deal.
Bullying is a big deal. And my daughter's school, they say quite sensibly, well, you know, we support them in working things out themselves. And I wish I knew what that meant.
Yeah, what does
you know,
that mean?
Practically, I mean, I'm down with that concept, but what does that mean? And it seems to vary, and it all has to do with how bad is it, right?
Yeah, well, so I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So with the 3-year-old, if he's the aggressor, which he's not usually, I get involved as his parent. When it's the other kid,
Yeah, that's
I
important.
kind of wait for a while, and if it's not being done, then I have to step in and say, you don't do that. So hard.
And if you're the only adult there, you're like, you are in charge. I mean,
Yeah,
you
right.
gotta own that. And I would hope that other parents do that with Julia, who's 6. You know, if she needs to be straightened out, they need to straighten her out.
Especially if it's aggressive, but it doesn't have to be aggressive anymore. It's social media, it's all of these things.
And I think a really important thing too is just to stay in touch with
Yeah.
other parents and with the teachers and just talk about what's going on. Because then you can spot problems in their infancy. I was talking to another dad, we were dropping off our kids, and you know, his daughter had come home and one of the other kids in her class was teasing her because she didn't have a mother. And you know, Julia doesn't have a mother either. So we both talked to our own kids about it and then talked to the teacher and said, you know, this may be an opportunity in the classroom just to talk about this issue. Because if it's in the classroom sort of open and normalized and people talk about it, it sort of takes all of the sting out of that teasing.
Yeah, and that was a good approach because you weren't tattling on anybody.
No,
you
we were
just saying,
working
"Let's
together
open."
to try to solve a problem, but
I should take the advice.
me too. Thanks a lot.